Board of Commissioners meeting. I'd like to call to order Board of Commissioners for Monday, December 8th, 2025. If everyone would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Oh, we have a pretty full room tonight. I'd like to give notice that we did have an executive session immediately prior to this meeting to discuss legal and real estate issues. We're going to start out with a presentation, and I have a few comments to make, once I can find them here. We want to recognize Commissioner Abel and Treasurer Froelich for their term here. We wish to thank and express our thanks to the two outgoing elected officials, 6th Ward Commissioner Jacob Abel and Treasurer Ken Froelich. I've worked with these two gentlemen for the past 4 years. They are both accomplished in their careers and have been a pleasure to work with. Interestingly, they have actually much in common. They're both longtime Radnor residents, Jake for almost 15 years and Ken for over 40, which I think is rather impressive. They're both married and have children who have done community things in Radnor Township and gone to the Radnor schools. They both traveled the world extensively. By report, Ken has been to all 7 continents, and Jake's been to over 30 countries and has even met the Dalai Lama, which I thought was sort of fun. They're both avid sports fans. Everyone here knows that Jake can often be found on the sidelines of one of his kids' games. He's even been known to kind of sneak in a little bit late, having gone on a little later than it should, to Board of Commissioners meetings. Jake's a huge fan of the Chicago Cubs. Go Cubbies. I once mentioned to him that I was headed to Chicago to attend a large medical conference, and the first thing he said, "Are you going to catch a Cubs game?" Ken, being a more reasonable Philly sports fan, roots for the Eagles, go Birds, the Phillies, and Villanova basketball. In preparing these remarks, I learned a lot about both of their remarkable careers. Before Jake moved to Radnor in 2011, he had a career in Washington, D.C. He worked for the Speaker of the House for over 5 years, where he began to focus on foreign policy and defense. He developed an interest in intelligence and later received a master's degree from the U.S. Naval War College. He pursued a career in intelligence at what I hear quite lofty levels. Upon moving to Radnor with his growing family, Jake was offered a job with Jane's, a defense and security company, where though the company has changed names since, he still is employed today. He has a strong record of community service. After serving on the Shade Tree Commission, he was elected to the BOC in 2017, and he has a reputation for tenaciously advocating for his constituents in Ward 6, for promoting community projects, and notably, he's always been a proponent of fiscal responsibility. Ken has a PhD in mathematics and is a graduate of Villanova Law School. He's a licensed actuary, a former insurance and financial executive, and a former college professor. He brought with him a strong financial background and broad management and legal experience. He has been a fantastic and compassionate treasurer, even though the job nearly killed him, literally. His regular attendance at Board of Commissioner meetings has been appreciated and has helped us make some sound financial decisions. Definitely important gentlemen, and dare I say, very overqualified for their jobs. Radnor salutes you both and thanks you for your service. We have a token of appreciation here for Commissioner Abel. You're very welcome. And for Treasurer Froelich. After all the hoopla. Oh, Ken, would you like to say something?
Yes.
Go for it.
I want to express my thanks to Radnor Township for the honor of being their treasurer. In 2020, when I ran for election for the job, I wondered what I would find if I were elected. My career in business had included several positions that required me to fix a poorly run operation, a poorly performing company or department. Those positions were painful. I hoped I wouldn't find a poorly performing organization in Radnor. I need not have worried. The whole township organization works well. The Radnor staff cares about the quality of their work, and they care about the residents of Radnor. They are competent in their jobs and are familiar with the history and the reasons that we have the procedures we do. And many of the staff have been here for decades. They know their jobs well. For example, during my 4 years as treasurer, there was 0 turnover in the financial department. 0. Where in business or government do you ever have 0 turnover? I found the Board of Commissioners to be intelligent, caring, and forward-looking, and responsive to those they serve. The township manager and his staff were hardworking, intelligent, and also caring. During my years as treasurer, I did try to improve certain items. Mainly, I produced written documentation for standards of what the treasurer's operation should do and of the ethics I thought were required for the job. As I turned my job over to the new treasurer, I look back with pride that I was part of the excellent staff of Radnor Township. Thank you.
Thank you, actually. All right, we will move on from the pomp and circumstance to public participation. Any member of the public is able to speak at this point for 5 minutes. Just say your name and your street, and I will time you once I get my timer up here. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Eleanor Ball, 608 Lindsay Circle in Villanova. I'm here with a number of representatives from our neighborhood tonight, many of whom have come out because of their concern, as you know, our concern for what's been happening with the noise that floats across from the Willows Mansion to Inverary. And though we've had many conversations with these neighbors who are here tonight, many of them have felt that strongly enough about it that now they have decided to attend and be here with us. So I'd like to read a petition that we are presenting to you tonight, signed by 62 neighbors in the Inverary community. It says, "We, the undersigned residents of Inverary, hereby petition the Radnor Township Board of Commissioners and Radnor Township Administration to revert to prior protocol by insisting that all Willows musical events be held inside the mansion building. Given the nature of the Willows Park topography, and since music mitigation efforts starting in 2022 have not resulted in any measurable nor acceptable solution, this is the only long-term and viable answer to address the increasingly unbearable noise levels coming from the Willows Mansion. Outside events of any size that include any electrified music, a DJ, band, client phone via speaker, etc., along with the increasingly loud and annoying crowd noise, are a public nuisance. The Willows Park Preserve mission statement goals include, and I quote from the mission statement, relaxation and connection for the Radnor community. The aforementioned persistently loud and aggravating event music and crowd noise coming from WPP events since the 2022 season is counter to these very goals. Residents who live nearby are unable to relax in our own backyards or on patios, and some neighbors can even hear the loud noise from inside their homes with doors and windows shut. The fact that the Radnor Township administration has allowed this problem to persist for years is inconsiderate and disrespectful to the Radnor residents who live near the Willows and who must endure this annoyance annually from April to November. Furthermore, the Radnor Township Board of Commissioners has mandated in Section 7 of the 2019 lease with WPP that the WPP acknowledges, and this is a quote, acknowledges and agrees that it will access and use the leased premises in such a manner as to not interfere with nor cause disturbance to Radnor residents using the park and/or residing at or near the park. Clearly, the WPP is in violation of the lease agreement. Thus, we hereby petition the Radnor Township Board of Commissioners and Radnor Township Administration to do the right thing for your fellow Radnor residents and taxpayers in the neighborhoods surrounding the Willows. Move the music indoors now. Prior to 2019, events were held in the indoor spaces in the mansion with great success. This can and should be done again.
That is the signed copy. I will be less than 4 minutes. I'm Susan Fahey, and I live at 606 Lindsay Circle. We have tried consistently to be cooperative, communicative, collaborative. Part of our real challenge is the lack of communication back to us, either from the WPP, from the BOC, or from the administration on an official basis. We hope and pray that something is being done behind the scenes, but we certainly don't know what that is. So lack of this communication means we're continuing to pursue all avenues and all options that are open to us to find an agreeable, mutually agreeable solution for this public nuisance. As Ken has said, we like to believe that all BOC and administration staff care about their residents. They're responsive to our residents. We're asking you to please care about us and be responsive to us. Bill White said a little while back that he's never known a disgruntled neighbor group to be so patient. We're really tired of being patient, and we are no longer patient. We are moving forward.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yes, please. Hi, my name is Bill Casey. I live at 456 Inverary. I signed the petition as a resident, but I've been in front of you before. I'm also the president of the Inverary HOA. And I will say that we've had a very collaborative working relationship with Dennis and the team, and we've found that to be so helpful. But we've been here many times before, and I think the petition says it all. We really need this to stop. I'm representing myself as a resident, but also as the president of the HOA, we have an interest to make sure our residents have a lifestyle that, we all want. And we've been dealing with this for now 3+, 4+ years, and we're not getting anywhere. And we really hope that this petition will prod the BOC to make some changes. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Thana Theophanis. I'm at 401 in Ferrare, also speaking in support of moving the outdoor noise from the Willows, bringing it inside. We moved in 2020, and it's definitely something that we notice when it's happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ted Begg. I live in the farmhouse on Darby Paley Road, and I've been there since 1984. And I enjoyed peace and quiet for about, 38 years. I have a wonderful patio that I invested in on the backyard of my house, and I really can't enjoy it anymore when there is music playing across the way. As I said, I've been there since 1984, enjoying the Willows as much as anybody. Kids playing hockey down there. Keep an eye on the litter, keep it clean over there. And probably the residents up to 300 years before me enjoyed the same landscape. My house is 320 years old. So a lot of people have enjoyed it for me, and we'd like to bring it back the way it was prior to 22. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
My name is Marty Josephs, and I live at 455 Inverary Road. And I've been a resident in Inverary for 17 years. Love the community, love Radnor Township, and was actually quite involved years ago when they were considering putting a day school there, which would have been, we figured, very, very disruptive. And I was pleased that the commissioners used their good judgment not to do that and turn it into a community resource, which up until recently has been wonderful. However, over the last 3 years, the noise, and I hear it in my house in the spring and summer when I'm on my deck, it's very disruptive. I've had guests over who kind of look at me and go, what's all the noise about? I've heard it directly when I've been at dinner on neighbors' decks. And I think the commissioners have a responsibility to address the situation and address it before the next season starts, so residents of our community can enjoy the lifestyle that we're used to. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Excuse me, John McAleese, 460 Inverary Road. I live on the side of the neighborhood that is close to the Willows. We hear the music. It can be annoying at times. We fully support the petition and the movement of the music inside. It's affecting our neighbors. It's affecting our neighborhood, both in detrimental ways. So we appreciate your actions to rectify this as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Bill Ashton. My wife and I, Lisa, live at 450 Inverary Drive. We're here today as well in support of the petition. We are also affected by the noise, particularly when you're sitting outside on your deck. So thank you, and I'd ask you to give this serious consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Robert Fahey. I live at 606 Lindsay Circle. Clearly one of the homes that's, we can see the pond from our back steps as well. I've lived in Radnor Township with my wife for 36 years, and I think I've loved 99.9% of that time. But for this noise issue, it's a public nuisance. It's getting worse, certainly not getting better. And I think our presentation tonight will show that it's not just the Balls and the Faheys and the McAleases, it's everybody. There are 67 homes or so in the community. We have 62 people that signed the petition. So it's not 2 or 3 cranky people bringing this issue in front of the board every quarter or every other month, whatever it's been. And we ask you just to do something really simple, which as landlord, enforce the terms of the lease. And if you take the lease agreement seriously and you look at that noise clause, they're totally out in left field in what they're doing. And we would like you to enforce the lease and get the music inside. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Richard Anthony, And I've lived at 408 Inverary in Villanova for 38 years in relative peace and quiet until the Willows Parks Preserve started operations. I signed a petition in the hope that this board would enforce the restrictions that were included in the deed at the very beginning, including the number of major events that are permissible in the building, and secondly, a requirement that any event with noise would be confined to the inside of the building. That was quite specific in the lease, at least as I remember hearing it some years ago. And so again, I am joining with my neighbors in the petition to please do something about this. We have been very patient, very accommodating. It's time for action. You folks should enforce the document that previous members of the board approved several years ago. Thank you.
I just want to ask the question. I was under the impression that we've already taken action on this. If you could confirm. I thought that everything was moving inside at the beginning of.
15 more.
Yeah, but at the beginning of, is it 2027?
We've received no information.
Everybody's in agreement yet there.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's been like codified, so I appreciate the comments.
Clarify the question is you thought, Jack, what we heard is that you thought that there has been agreement made for the next season, which would be the 2026 season,
27.
and moving indoors. We've not heard anything. We've heard rumors that all but 15 will be moved indoors, but to the point Rick Anthony made is there's a discrepancy on what events are considered events to be moved. This year there were 50 events with music. Now, they may have not had 110 or 120 people. There's nothing in the lease that states that small events are not the same as large events. There's not even the word small and large events. The word is major event with a maximum head count of 150. It doesn't mean that any event can be held willy-nilly. It's major events, max head count 150. There appears to be interpretation of that lease, and I'm no lawyer, there appears to be interpretation of that lease that we can do lots of stuff, but we just have to stipulate what is major. I think that's a management issue. There has been a lot of time and effort spent by the neighbors. We're asking for time and effort to manage this lease and manage the noise. If decisions have been made for 2026, nothing officially has been communicated to us, and that decision needs to be in writing. Because from what we've heard from the WPP when they were talking to us, and they're certainly not now, we can't hold anything. We can't hold them to anything unless something's in writing. We've got nothing in writing.
Okay, well.
Good evening. We're Steve and Nancy Brown. We live at 428 Inverary Road. We've been residents of Radnor Township for about 20 years now, and we've signed the petition, and we support the BOC taking action to move all the music indoors going forward to restore the peace and harmony in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. I stand in solidarity with our neighbors as well.
My name is Bill Walker. This is Eve Walker. We reside at 604 Lindsay Circle. Long-term residents of Radnor Township. We've lived here for over 30 years. What a wonderful community, thanks to you folks. But we again ask, please help us with this noise problem. It is really getting to the point where you can't sit on your deck and enjoy an evening meal on Friday or Saturday night because of the noise. I hope you take that into consideration and we can get this problem resolved. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I apologize, I've lost my voice, so I'm going to ask Marty to read my.
So I'm representing Steve Onofrio, who lives at 418 Inverary, and he and his wife have signed the petition and share the same beliefs as you've heard from other residents, that one, he would like the commissioners to enforce the stipulations of the lease and really address this problem, which for him, when he sits on his beautiful new deck, doesn't really appreciate the noise that comes from the constant events during the season, and it's one of the primary reasons that he told me he bought the house was for the view of the pond, and just the setting and the noise now is a detriment to that. So he's asking that the commissioners, as I said, enforce the lease and take some action on this immediately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public participation?
Good evening. My name's John Ball, and I live at 608 Lindsay Circle. I'm not going to restate what has been said. I just want to publicly thank Jake for your advocacy for Radnor at large and for our ward and our neighborhood. We're grateful to you. And we look forward to working with the new commissioner come the new year. But we intend to seek action. So we will seek to get on the board agenda in January when you start the new calendar year. We're tired of waiting. We're tired of being patient. We want the problem solved. We want the lease enforced. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nadia Vandewa, and I live at 215 South Aberdeen Avenue. Thank you for your time today. I'm here on behalf of the Radnor Township Memorial Library, representing our Board of Trustees, just to share a few updates and convey our gratitude. First, thank you for your historic and ongoing support of the library. Township funding allows this library to sustain and grow its high-quality services, staff, and collection. We couldn't do it without your support of the commissioners in the township. And per the plan you would have reviewed in your packets, we have recently committed under Joyce's leadership to a 3-year financial plan, including accommodation for the addition of a permanent development-focused team member, so that we too can keep doing our part to support Radnor Township planning and resource management. Secondly, we wanted to offer our congratulations to recently re-elected township commissioners and thank those that are moving on. We appreciate your leadership in positioning the library for success, and we look forward to learning how we can partner. Lastly, we wanted to share how well our 12th annual Elves for the Shelves race went last Saturday. Despite some icy conditions, together we raised record-breaking amounts, and we had a record-breaking almost 750 total registered participants and more than 55 volunteers. We're very thankful that the township continues to support and allow for the event to happen so successfully and safely, and we are proud of our fundraising and engagement efforts. In closing, I want to speak to you less as a trustee and more as a resident who experiences the positivity of the library constantly. I moved here with my family 3 years ago from Washington, D.C., attracted to the great schools, outdoors, proximity to a world-class city, and active cultural life. My husband and I work in healthcare and finance and are fortunate to have employers locally and be able to afford Radnor's higher cost of living, which we know is increasingly not as true for many. For us, Wayne has more than delivered, and we're immensely grateful to live here and be part of the community. We didn't know anyone when we arrived, and one of the first things we did was go get our library cards and join a few library activities. I have 3 kids, ages 2 to 8, who read like crazy, love library programming, and know that on a rainy day, that's one of the few places we can head. When my father passed away last year and my mother relocated temporarily to be with us, she too found community at the library and its senior programming and solace in its books and DVD collection. It's really striking that in today's modern world, the library is one of the few places still universally beloved and bringing people from all walks of life together. And I know we aren't the only ones that feel this way. I was at a Christmas party on Friday, and a 7-year-old girl, a friend of my daughter's, who was aware we'd been fundraising, pulled me aside and slipped me her coin collection, $5.14, mostly in pennies, which I had to count. But I tried to give it back, and she said, I want the library to have this. So in sum, thank you all, big and small, for enabling the library to be a pillar of learning and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public participation tonight? All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. I know it's a cold night. I'm just going to give a few minutes for the room to clear. All right. Let's move on. The next item is the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that any commissioner or member of the public would like to pull? Seeing none, could I have a motion to pass the consent agenda? So moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second. Second by Commissioner Riley. I'm going to call a vote on the consent agenda to approve. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Moving on to the business agenda. The first item, 3A, is a caucus, so there will be no vote. Minor subdivision, 216 to 220 Radnor Chester Road. Lot line change to transfer 10,048 square feet, including a barn, from 220 Radnor Chester Road to 216 Radnor Chester Road. Hello, welcome.
Hi, excuse me, Patrick Spellman with Site Engineering Concepts. This is a lot line change plan, which is defined as a minor subdivision by the code, but no new lots are being created. It is between 216 and 220 Radnor Chester Road. The idea is to simply remove the one property line at the back of 216 and extend it further back so that the barn that is currently on 220 will now become part of 216. The area that was chosen, the 10,000 square feet, was to make sure that 216 stays in compliance with the coverage requirements. Outside of that, all the other zoning requirements were met quite easily. It is pretty much that simple. I'm not too sure what else you'd like to hear about it.
Any commissioner questions?
I think it's being done right, because the one resident that would like to acquire the barn, that family, the husband is an artist and uses the barn, has been using it for years and years and years, and now the other people want to move. So in order to be able to buy the barn and not the whole property, this is the point of this, right?
Exactly.
It's very amicable.
Yeah.
It's a
Both
nice
owners are
idea,
here. Yeah.
the whole bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other commissioner questions, comments? Seeing none, is there any public participation on this? All right. Again, this is just a caucus. We saw you at planning as well, and
Shade Tree.
and Shade Tree,
And
right.
Shade,
So we will see you again in January for a vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 3B.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say January, or would it be the December 22nd's meeting?
We are going to cancel December 22nd.
Explains that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Assuming we vote on it, that is.
When are you closing? Okay. Okay, okay. Oh, great.
Just
Okay.
get it done, yeah.
Right.
But doing it in January is not a huge obstacle. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for asking. Item 3B is ordinance 2025-08, up for adoption, amending the Radnor Township Code of Ordinances, Chapter 270, Vehicles and Traffic, by adding a new Article 9, Electric Bicycle and Electric Scooter Regulations. Mr. Rice, you want to start us out on this one?
Yes, thank you. As the board is aware, this was introduced at the last meeting. We made some adjustments to the ordinance at that time. They're in the ordinance that was advertised for tonight. Essentially, without going through line by line, we're establishing some rules and regulations for electric scooters and electric bikes. Some of which PennDOT already has on the books, but we've added some additional requirements and limitations and safety requirements. Excuse me. It's been reviewed by the police department, and Chief Flanagan had, various comments which have all been incorporated before the board for a public hearing and possible adoption tonight. One of the things that we did do, and this was in the last draft, is the violations and penalties is more like a traffic ticket than it is going to district justice court and a summary offense type of thing. So
From my point of view, I think this is ready to go. There's been a lot of press about legislation for electric bikes, including the Commonwealth apparently has something that's, pending, but hasn't been adopted. So. And e-scooters, yeah. So unless the board has any questions, I think this is ready for your consideration.
Any commissioner discussion?
I do just have one question, Mr. Rice. We talked a little bit at the last meeting about those who may rely on an e-scooter or e-bike because of mobility issues and would need to get some sort of waiver. Is that embedded in the ordinance?
It's not in the ordinance. I think what the conclusion was, first of all, ADA would require some accommodation. But whatever public notification or public education about the ordinance, that'll be part of that and not necessarily in the ordinance. Yeah.
Any other commissioner questions, comments? Seeing none, is there any public participation on this issue?
Baron Gemmer, South Wayne Avenue. 3 points. The first of two, which relates to Commissioner Coates' comments, I think, from the last meeting where this was on. First on 27092A, where it talks about electric bikes being prohibited on Old Township properties except when visiting the buildings. And given that the vehicles are allowed on streets, the way this is defined, I thought there's a lot of township properties where there aren't any buildings. If you go to the park, does that fall under this or not, as opposed to that? So I would, like, means of transportation to and from township properties might be more appropriate, although I'm sure the police could enforce it as is, but that might be more generalized. I'll give my other two, and if you want to talk. Then also it says are prohibited on the Radnor Trail system as part of that. And again, that goes to the Commissioner Coates' comments, because they are permitted on the Schuylkill River Trail, the Perkiomen Trail. If you go farther west on the Lebanon Heritage Trail, and as well as the York County Heritage Trail. I don't think we necessarily want to set up a situation where you're on a trail and then you come to a junction or a connection and then you can't ride the bike on that trail, particularly with trying to create the circuit trails around here. And I know that people have said they're dangerous on the trails, and in some ways they're not any more dangerous than the bicycles, which are going 20 miles an hour and silent. So I would ask you to look at that to see if we would allow them on the trail like most of the other trails in the area do, and I think it's DCNR, I believe that was Commissioner Coates' comment, so that people would be able to use the trail as opposed to roads to get around for that. And my last comment is on 27092C, where it talks about any motorized bike, the bicycle does not meet this definition, is prohibited on streets and everything. Again, it could be interpreted okay by the police, but a moped, which is legal on the streets, which might be considered a motorized bicycle, is legal per the state, but we're saying it's not. So I just didn't want to make sure we don't create a conflict there by saying that that's not.
In fact, two things.
Yeah.
The one with regard to the township, going to the township municipal buildings, I had requested Councilor Rice to change that because the way it was worded was that you can ride them on the streets, right, the Class 1 and Class 2, but not on township property. I said, well, then you can't come to the township building. So it's been corrected for that. With regards to mopeds.
But what about when you're not visiting a building, like
you
going to
can't
a
come
park?
to the township properties.
I'm sorry?
You cannot be on the township properties.
If you're going to Willows Park and not going to a building, you can't drive it to the park just like you would a bike?
You can come onto the, I mean, you can drive it on the street, but you can't come into the park with an e-bike. Is that right?
You can come to the township building, and it says, or other township buildings. So you could come on the street to the Willows Mansion. I mean, that would be the same as coming to the township.
But I'm saying, like other parks that don't have buildings, other township parks, that's what I was more referring to, where it's not a building involved.
They're not to be in the parks. That's really the situation.
Yeah.
With
But I
regard-
think what he's saying is that you're just going to the park, you're going to
Yeah.
walk your bike up and go to the park. You came on the road system, it's just that till you get to the bike rack, really.
I'm s-
I guess could we add something about, you can dismount? Yeah, well, you'd have to dismount. You'd have to dismount, walk your bike to the bike rack. That would really be once you get to the park, you have to dismount.
Yeah, I'm fine, just to treat it like a regular bike, because a regular bicycle could continue riding and then park it there and enjoy the park, just like an e-bike could. So, I'm sorry, but you had a
You
second
have to
point.
dismount.
Yeah.
You have to get to the
Yeah,
park.
dismount's
Get off,
fine.
Walk your bike to the,
Dismount is fine.
to the bike rack.
I interrupt, you had a second point there, Commissioner.
Mopeds don't have pedals.
I'm sorry?
Mopeds don't have pedals, do they? Mopeds. The ones like, I'm thinking of Vespas, I'm sorry. Sorry. No, I'm thinking of a Vespa. Okay. I prefer a Vespa.
So your last, can I just clarify your
Sure.
last point is, if we said electric motorized, that would fix that for you?
That would provided there's not another type of electric besides Class 1 and Class 2 you'd want to allow on that, then yes, I think that would fix it. Just because you're just saying motorized, which encompasses all others, including gas,
Yeah,
natural
no, it
gas
does.
powered or whatever. And I understand those are legal on the street, so I just didn't want to have us create a conflict for that.
I need to find.
I know there's a certain CC of
Can you
moped.
tell me again which one it was?
It's a 27092C.
92, sorry.
Mhm.
I'm looking under 93. C, any motorized bicycle that does not meet this article's definition of an electric bicycle is prohibited on all public streets. So you're saying a
A
moped
gasoline
would
would-
be prohibited on
would-
all public streets?
yeah, according to
Got
that,
it.
yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
that-
Thank you.
Okay. Any other? Sorry, Commissioner Aguirre.
A moped, gas-powered as opposed to,
Mhm.
right? Okay.
So I think he's right, we need to change that. I mean, I think our intention was to keep them out of the parks and off the Radnor Trail.
Yeah, I put in one plea for the trail before I
Yeah,
go down,
I
because I know
know.
you didn't talk
Yeah.
about that, but
Yeah.
that's your prerogative, I just wanted to bring it up again.
So Baron, what's your suggestion for that? It says any motorized bicycle now. We talking about any other electric?
Well, yes, if you have electric in there, then anything gasoline is out of the picture at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if we just inserted electric.
Right.
And per Commissioner Agnew's language about dismounting or whatever, I was at least saying means of transportation to get there, and then, you have to get off once you get there or whatever.
Right,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Any further public participation? I realized, but we would have to amend it anyway, that I didn't get a motion. So I will ask for a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-08 as amended. So moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second. Second by Commissioner Riley. We did public participation already. So any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a vote to adopt ordinance 2025-08. All in favor, as amended. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Can I just say, so congratulations, Commissioner Abel, going out with a bang. It's a great ordinance, and thank you very much for bringing it to, it was Commissioner Abel who brought it to everyone's attention and has taken this form after everybody's edits, et cetera, so thank you very much.
All right. Item 3C is ordinance 2025-11, up for adoption, special purpose parking zones. The removal of the handicap space in front of 166 Meredith Avenue, adding a handicap parking space in front of 232 Poplar Avenue, and adding a handicap parking space on the south side of the driveway of 114 North Lowry's Lane. Excuse me. Could I have a motion, please? So moved. Who said that? By Commissioner Coates, and a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mulrooney. Any discussion? No? Chief, do you have anything to add? No. Any public participation on this? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote to adopt ordinance 2025-11. All in favor? Aye? That's unanimous. Item 3D, Resolution 2025-166. It's a resolution of Radnor Township adopting an updated emergency management plan, last updated on April 24th, 2023, which prescribes activities to be taken by the township and various community service agencies and officials to protect the citizens in the event of emergency situations. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Mulrooney, and a second? Second by Commissioner Riley. Chief, who wants to start us off on this one?
Good evening,
Excellent.
Commissioners. I'm Steve Giancristoforo. I'm the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator for Radnor Township. Each year, it is a requirement of every municipality in Delaware County to submit an updated emergency operations plan. Our plan has been in effect for many years, and between 2025 and 2026, the only thing we needed to do was actually update the contact list. Our plan is the same as it's been for a few years now. So in order to be compliant with the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency and Delaware County Emergency Management, we need to submit an updated plan with the updated signatures of the Board of Commissioners to take effect on January the 1st, 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Any commissioner discussion? Any public participation? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote and ask all the commissioners to sign. We need to all sign this one, assuming we pass it. On Resolution 2025-166, all in favor? Aye. Commissioner Coates, are you in favor? Yeah. Thanks. I know he's signing it, so, all right, just wanted to be sure. All right, now we're off to the budget, the 2026 budget. The first item is ordinance 2025-13, adoption, up for adoption, adopting the 2026 comprehensive budget by setting the township real estate tax millage rate and adopting appropriations for 2026. Mr. White?
Thank you. As the title would indicate, this ordinance includes the millage that the board gave direction on at the last meeting, setting the 2026 millage rate. There were a couple hanging issues that I think we wanted to discuss tonight before the adoption. And Ian, if you could switch over to my tablet, I'll be prepared to show or step through any questions we have. The two issues, if I recall correctly, one was with regard to the additional police officers that had been presented and requested, was whether or not there was the opportunity to hold off on hiring or phasing that in over the course of the year, and if that had any impact on the millage for 2026. The short answer after discussing internally is no, because at the end of the day, if we hire the officers, millage would be necessary to fund them. So if the board was open to moving forward with hiring the 3 additional officers, we could hold off until late 2026, reevaluate where the township's revenues are at that point, and if given the green light, move forward with the hiring process at that point, and then understand in 2027, the revenue would be needed to compensate for those officers. Outside of that, there was a question raised about, and I'm sorry, I've got this. There we go. Question raised about whether or not the addition of the 3 officers would have a meaningful impact in reducing overtime expense. I believe the police chief met with the commissioner on that issue individually. The short answer is not a significant impact, and the reason behind that being a lot of the police overtime, actually a significant amount of the police overtime, is either through the extra duty details or the reimbursed overtime that is in either case compensated or paid for by third parties. And those are for third party events, things that impact the community, in terms of traffic, those events being not necessarily the ones that the township's hosting, but Villanova is a good example. They have regular sporting events that result in that type of overtime. The police department are asked on a lot of occasions to attend community or neighborhood-led events, patrols or escorts outside of the township for various goings-on, most notably this year, and we anticipate again for next year, with all of the major sporting events in Philadelphia, including what was the Club World Cup this summer and the FIFA World Cup next summer. Our police department is requested and used quite a bit for escorts. As a compliment to our police department, because they do such a great job, they're always asked back. So where I'm going with that long explanation is that the number of officers doesn't necessarily correlate in a reduction of overtime as if it would if the overtime was basically being incurred as a result of shift coverage or absences or illnesses or injuries. There's certainly some of that, but there'll always be that, and it will always result in more overtime. So again, a long explanation. It's just difficult to, after discussing with the police department, to try to nail down on any kind of relationship that additional officers will result in a reduction in overtime. And I've got a couple tables that support all of that if we'd like to look at them. But I'll leave that up to the commissioners for direction.
I take your word on it, and maybe I'm preempting you, but the other question was, would one officer instead of three? Was there any discussion about instead of having three bodies, we would have one or two, and what that would do to the budget?
Yeah, so any, I would speak for the chief here, but any additional officer would be welcome. There are specific needs, and I think he identified a couple of those in the presentation with regard to the detective unit, as well as the high-density areas, and opportunities within the department to work on some of the major initiatives with regard to investigations, the accreditation requirements in terms of reporting and following up. So if we can fill any of those gaps, they will be significant improvements. And in terms of impacting the millage, those officers, sorry, I've got my, don't have a lot of space, so I keep hitting buttons here. So that's not supposed to be a bunch of S's if you're looking at the formula bar. So the three officers in the aggregate are about $570,000 for all three. A third of that would be the cost of one officer. So a little less than $200,000 if we're rounding. We have, the millage is calculated at basically break even. So that's why we have the $204, which is as close to break even as possible. So even if we reduce this number by a third, it would result in a little bit different millage. And I can run that. Again, though, I can run that. Sorry, I'm just, there we go. So break So the change in the millage in the proposed ordinance would go from 2.7101 to 2.7389. And in terms of the costs, if you're able to see on the screen, those numbers are here. So 139 would be the full year cost to the median, or 140, the full year cost to the median taxpayer, or $11.64 per month.
Can you remind me again what the current millage rate is?
The 2025 millage
Yes,
rate is 2.4852 mils.
Any questions or comments for Mr. White?
If I could. And I'm not sure, one of the initiatives for 2026 that I would like to propose we start moving forward with, especially with conversations associated with the fire and EMS service delivery for the long term. We know that those conversations are going to, we're going to start having some more in-depth conversations on that front. If we couple that with staffing needs from the police department and have periodic, perhaps quarterly, safety discussions, they could be a part of this meeting, or we could have special meetings dedicated to the topic, depending on the weight of the agenda for those particular items. But during those meetings in 2026, we could get into a lot more detail about the police staffing and where the board would like to see it as it relates to what's happening today. And if over the course of next year, it becomes obvious that those positions within the police department are warranted and needed and the board agrees in moving forward, that decision can be made at any point next year. And then in 2027, we enact the millage necessary to fund it. So that's, and I think we're going to have those meetings or conversations anyway on the fire side. We just marry up the police side. And quite honestly, it's a lot of the information and discussion in those meetings would be good for the community here too, about the police activity and the initiatives they have going on, where they're strained, where, items that they feel is important for the community here as well. So if I could make that recommendation. And then that would adopt the millage as presented in the draft ordinance tonight. That would allow us to move forward with the budget, incorporate the civilian positions, and then, like I said, on the safety side, we talk about the police positions going into 2027 or 2026.
Thank you for doing that calculation and showing us the impact. I think I was surprised it would bump it up on the percentage side by like a whole percentage point. So, there's something, I think we all as commissioners, we don't like voting for tax increases. We as residents don't want them, and we as commissioners, this is hard to do. So keeping it under the 10% feels like there's a little bit of breath in there. I'm going to vote for the millage as stated in the ordinance draft tonight.
Any other questions or comments?
So the millage, as stated in the draft, how many staff members is that including?
If it's 3, I can, if you'll bear with me a couple mouse clicks here. Yep, there we go. So it includes 3. Well, in full disclosure, 4, there's 1 additional civilian position in the sewer fund. So I don't want to lose sight of that. But in terms of what this millage would fund, it's 3. It's the mechanic in Public Works, it's the park maintenance laborer in Public Works, and that's the park operations coordinator. That would work under the Parks and Rec department, but would coordinate a lot with Public Works in terms of the goings-on in our parks, both in terms of programming and maintenance.
Okay. I mean, President Myers, you did a really good job last year convincing me and negotiating and getting me to vote yay for the first time in 7 years. I'm going to be a no on this budget, and primarily because, Bill, you had credited the revenue shortfall to just a lack of the business tax coming in and the hiring of new staff. And I haven't seen a plan that is going to see business tax grow over the next year, particularly in this economic climate. And we're increasing staff, which leads me to believe we may see a steeper shortfall next year. So for that reason, I'm going to vote no on this budget.
Any other discussion? All right, I'm going to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-13, setting the 2026 tax millage rate to 2.7101 mils. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Larkin. Any public participation? Any further discussion by commissioners or staff? Go ahead.
Bill, could you put up the other screen and then change it back? Yeah, it's that one. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
All right, I'm going to call the vote then to adopt ordinance 2025-13 as moved. All in favor? Aye. And opposed? Nay? Item 4B is ordinance 2025-14. Up for adoption is the 2026 sanitary sewer rent rate. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by Commissioner Riley, and a second. Second. I don't know that we need to discuss this anymore, but anybody want to speak to this?
Thank you, Madam President. Briefly, this would be an increase in the rate to generate enough revenue to cover the significant cost of the sewer fund. About 75% of that are pass-through costs for the water treatment. And then some capital construction, and as well as the additional staff for the sewer fund. One
additional staff. That's not plural.
Right.
It sounded
The
plural.
previously mentioned one
Yes.
that we keep forgetting about.
Yeah, it would increase the Public Works sewer staff from 3 to 4.
All right. Any commissioner questions, comments? Any public participation? Seeing none, I'm going to call a vote on ordinance 2025-14. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. All right. We're on to reports of board liaisons. No? New business, I would like to make a motion to cancel the December 22nd, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mulrooney. Any discussion or public participation? No? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Any old business? Any final public participation? All right, seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. So moved by Commissioner Agnew, and a second by Commissioner Mulrooney. All in favor? Aye. Happy holidays. Go Birds.